Welcome to third quarter, 7th grade. At the beginning of this quarter, we'll have, yes, another writing assignment. And this writing assignment will be a personal story. A personal story is a story with you as the main character. It should be a true story. And so you should come up with some ideas first. Your pre-writing will have 3 parts. The first part, as you can see on the board behind me, is to make a list of 5 possible stories. Okay, so I have some ideas here. One of the ideas I have here is your first memory. My first memory was, I think I was like maybe 3 years old. I really don't know how old I was, but I know that I had just gotten a new pair of shoes and I was really excited about it. My great-grandmother, bisabuela, wanted to take a picture of me. And so she actually took the lamp off of a table and put little Kathy on the table with her new shoes and was going to take a picture of me there. And, but she had a hard time getting me to look up because I kept looking down at my new shoes. And that's not much of a story. So maybe I wouldn't pick that one, but I might write that down as an idea. My first picture. Probably not my first picture. My first memory. - picture or something like that. The first time you blank. So I remember the first time I learned to ride a bicycle. My family and another family went camping together, and one of the things that all of the kids did was bring bicycles, and I brought my bicycle. And yeah, I should say it wasn't the first time I rode my bicycle. It was the first time I rode my bicycle without training wheels. You probably don't know what training wheels are, but at that time in the States, I'm not sure about now because I don't have kids, but at that time in the States, they would put little wheels on the bicycle that would keep it from falling over. And then when you were ready, you'd take off the training wheels and be able to ride the bike with 2 wheels like it's supposed to be ridden. And so I brought my bike with my training wheels, and some friends of ours took the training wheels off, and everybody was trying to teach me how to ride my bicycle. I kept falling down. And so I kept saying that I was miserable and everything was miserable, and this is a miserable trip and my miserable bicycle, and I kept using the word miserable. And I remember that the boy in the other family who I had a crush on came up to me one evening with a cup of hot chocolate and said, "Do you want some miserable go-go?" And I was so embarrassed. Anyway, so that might be a good story to tell. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through my memories on each one of these. I'm sure this is boring you a little bit, but embarrassing moment. So a time when something happened and you got embarrassed. Why you always blank. So it could be anything that you're known for doing. Why you always, I can't think of anything right now. I had some kids choose that last year. I'm trying to think what they said. Why I always talk loud. Why I always, oh, I know. I have a memory of my own. Why I always eat fast. And so I'm not going to tell you the story unless you want me to later. But that would be one. Death of a pet, a fight with your mom, a fight with your best friend, a fight with whoever. A time someone helped. So if somebody helped you or helped your family, then maybe that would be a story to tell. A disappointment. Sometimes we are disappointed and you hope that something would happen and in the end it didn't happen. So that's disappointing. A proud moment. So when you accomplished something and it was really exciting for you and proud that you accomplished it. A great opportunity that you had to do something special or to have an honor bestowed upon you. Do you know what that means? I'm sorry. Sometimes I use words without thinking. When you have an honor given to you. So that's the first part. Make a list of 5 possible stories. So the first time I rode my bike without training wheels, why I always eat fast, the death of my dog Trouble, a fight with my mother, my first memory. So that could be the list. Okay. Then the second part of your pre-writing is, what kind of opening are you going to have? So when you tell your story, I want you to start out with one of these kinds of openings. So choose one of these that will go with your story. So, for example, let's say your story is going to be about something your family was going to do that was exciting but a little scary, and you started out your story with a snapshot. What that means is you just show something happening. Imagine that we're watching a movie maybe, and you show something happening. And that snapshot could be, my mother was making eggs for us for breakfast as usual, but her hands were trembling and she was having trouble keeping from dropping things and something like that. And then later on we could find out why she was so nervous. Okay. And that might be what the story's about. So when I say give a hint of what's coming, that's the kind of thing I have in mind. If you're telling a story with a character in it that's very unusual, maybe you could start with a description of that character, or maybe a famous person, what their personality is really like. Maybe you met a famous person. If you're telling a story about going to a particular place that's extremely interesting, like Copan Ruinas or Paris, France, or something, like some place that you went, you could start out with a description of the place. And when I say a description of the place, I hope you know what I mean by now, because we had to write 2 descriptions last quarter. But you should be using words that make the reader, Mrs. Brown, and maybe someone else, I don't know, make the reader able to kind of experience that place with you. A shocker could be, it could be your experience of having to go to the hospital after an accident. Maybe that's your story. And so you start out your story with, bam, our car struck the school bus, or whatever, so that would be a shocker. Dialogue could begin a story. Hey kids, it's time to go, my mom said. But Mom, we don't have time to get ready, we replied. Okay, something like that. You could start out like that. Whichever one of these kinds of openings would go well with the story you want to tell. So you list 5 and then pick one. Maybe you'll circle the one you pick. And then put the kind of opening. And you don't have to give me any details. You can just say dialogue, or you can say snapshot, or whatever. And then setting, time and place. So I want you to tell me where and when the story happened. So the story happened at Copan Ruinas in the summer of 2010, or whatever. Well, for you, that would be really early in your life, probably more recently than that. So that's it pretty much for the pre-writing, just 3 steps. Remember, please remember this. Pre-writing is not the same thing as rough draft. I'm thinking that maybe when you were in elementary school, you had a teacher or other teachers that's when they said pre-writing, they meant rough draft. That is not what I mean when I say pre-writing. These are the things to do for pre-writing. I did not say go ahead and tell your story. That is the rough draft, when you go ahead and tell your story for the first time. Okay, so please get that straight. These are 2 different steps. Pre-writing is worth 2 points. Rough draft is worth 3 points. Okay, Rough draft, 20 countable sentences minimum. What that means is when I look at your paper, I'm going to count periods. If there are only 3 periods in your paper, then I'm going to not give you full credit. If you just put periods in random places, not at the end of sentences, I'm not going to give you full credit. I need to be able to think, okay, thought, period. Thought, period. Okay? That is how I count sentences. I'm not counting lines like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm not counting lines. Okay? I'm counting sentences. Also, do not write a list of sentences like number 1, first sentence, number 2, second sentence. Do not do that. That is not a story. That is a list of sentences. Okay? So, when you write, you should just write period, 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 like that. Hopefully you understand what I mean by that. And if you want to start a new paragraph, then go ahead and jump down another space, or my favorite way to start paragraphs, which I've been trying to teach people for a long time, and for some reason, it hardly ever works. But my favorite way to start paragraphs is the way that paragraphs are started in books, by indenting, by skipping over 3 or 4 spaces, and then going back to the margin. And when I start a new paragraph, skipping over 3 or 4 spaces, and then going back to the margin. Okay? For me, that's how paragraphs begin, with an indented line. Do you want 20 sentences? I do want you to skip lines or double space. And skipping lines means that, I didn't skip lines here. It's all like single space. But if I gave room between the lines, then that would be like skipping lines. When you are typing, like if you're typing on Word, then you can set it to double space and it will double space. Sorry about the noises. I've got people in my house. Make sure your story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So when I'm looking at all of these rough drafts, I'm going to be counting sentences. I'm going to see if it's skipping lines or double spacing. And I'm going to kind of, not detailed read it, but I'm going to kind of read it and see if I can tell that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to the story. The beginning of the story is this part. The middle of the story is most of it, when you're telling it all. And at the end, you make it sound like an end. If you have trouble coming up with a way to end your story, then make a comment or send me a message, and I will be happy to help you. If you at any time have any questions for me, please know that I am more than willing to help you. That's what I'm here for. Okay, that I'm your teacher. I'm not just somebody who makes videos that most people don't watch. I am your teacher and I will help you. If you say that I spoke too fast in this video and you want me to help you with part of this again, now what did you mean by double spacing, or like, how do you think I can start my story, or kind of thing? That's fine. Ask me. Okay, I'll try to help you. We don't have forever to write these, but but you can do it. You can ask me questions. So want to start out tomorrow with doing your pre-writing. Try to think about what you want to write about. Make a list of 5 things, pick one, etc. Do the 3 things into the pre-writing. And then after that, you can start on your rough draft. I believe that's all I have to say for right now, so happy writing.